ठीक है, let us start now. So let me explain. Let me explain now. The unit we are covering here is political geography. We will touch on trade and transport and some topics related to economic geography. We will do settlement geography. We will also do topics of population and agriculture. Now, whatever topics, look at trade, transport, and agriculture, there will be some topics related to RDP also. Okay, settlement geography, some RDP topics also. So, ये जो topics हैं, population, political geography and trade and transport, this you rely entirely on the classes I conduct here. Whatever I teach here, you be with me. Okay, you don't have to read anything more than what I'm teaching you in political geography, trade and transport. But for settlement geography, population, agriculture, please refer to your class notes also. Okay? So these topics you can rely on the classes I'm discussing right now. I'll keep it a bit more thorough here because topics from this, the questions from this are entirely almost based on current affairs. They don't ask too many of conceptual or theoretical based questions. Okay? So you rely on the class notes on this that I'll take up now next 1 or 2 days. But for settlement geography, for population geography and agriculture, I will do some enrichment. हम add तो करेंगे, but I will want to refer to your class notes also. Plus whatever enrichment, whatever additions I do here in the classes here. Okay, so be conscious of that. Any book for settlement geography, the book for settlement and population, ये दोनों units के लिए follow माजिद हुसैन human geography का जो text book है, plus do Khuller, Indian geography by Khuller. For population geography, for settlement geography, Majid Hussain, human geography textbook and Khuller. And for agriculture, you can rely entirely on Khuller. For RDP also, you can do Khuller plus Majid Hussein's human geography textbook. Okay, so we are doing political geography, trade and transport, settlement geography, population geography, agriculture, and RDP. These are the topics you'll cover. I will stress on political geography and trade and transport now, and then I'll move on towards the rest. Achha. Now, apart from this, let me explain you. Some of you are not familiar. So what we are doing is all the discussions will be in the form of questions and answers. Okay, so I will pose some questions to you and I'll expect कि आप उस पे answer लिखो. Practice some writing, practice some jottings, read something on your own. I'll suggest some articles for you to read also. But all the discussions will be in the form of questions and answers. And deliberately, the questions will be a bit more trickier. Straight questions नहीं देंगे. Okay, कि बेटा बताओ पपीता कहाँ मिलता है, आम कहाँ से ले आएं, अच्छा पापा का बाल सफेद है कि काला है, वैसे वाला नहीं पूछेंगे. तो हम थोड़ा घुमा के पूछेंगे आपको. I'll ask you questions which are a bit tricky and do not get exasperated there. Okay, so do not get too upset there कि sir ऐसा difficult questions क्यों पूछ रहे हैं? Because if you learn to write and develop difficult answers, you will manage the other answers also. ठीक है? So yes, घूम रो भूम रो, आप लोग घूमते रहोगे थोड़ा सा, but that's the whole idea. ठीक है? And in answer writing, okay, a very strong point is that you have to know your content well. You have to structure your answers well. You must know how to draw diagrams properly. And very important is maintain the page limit and also maintain the word limit. Some of you have forgotten this. You remember the instructions? Some of you probably have been part of the PYQ sessions. Okay, जो 10 mark का question है, okay, do not go beyond 1.5 page. अगर 20 mark का question है, 2.5 page is okay. And if it is 25 mark or 30 marks का पूछता है, in fact 10 and 15 mark also, I will say. Okay, so 1.5 to 2 pages maybe, and 25, 30 may you can go towards 3 pages. So I'll suggest keep this limit with you very tight. Okay, keep this limit very, very tight, because if you cannot write within the space, if you cannot write within the page limit, the word limit, you will have problems in terms of managing your time eventually. So more than the word limit, more important for me is the page limit. And when I say a page, you all should be writing on a page that has 1 inch margin on all the 4 sides, and then you start writing. Typically UPSC paper जो आता है, you have got UPSC paper here लिखा हुआ. We'll share our format of Educami page also. आप उसमें भी कर सकते हो practice. I'll put it there for all of you to have a look here. ठीक है, so answer writing. The whole idea of this session is, or these sessions will be learn answer writing. Learn answer writing. Try to practice answers. And in the tests, okay, जो test होगा, in the test, I will ask, okay, some of the discussed questions. Okay, I will not surprise you too much. Most questions I ask you will be those that I have discussed in the class. Plus, we will also support you with model answers. But maybe model answers for not all the topics. Whatever we can, will support you. हाँ, हम पेपर पहले से लीक कर देते हैं. ठीक है? We will leak the paper to all of you, और फिर आप solve करके दिखाओ whether you can manage that in the time given or not. So no issues there for me. ठीक है, all of you? Okay, so here we go. The political geography is what I'm starting with. So in the questions discussion, I have been very, very assertive about the fact that learn to understand the question very well. So write down the question, please. The question is, India's federal structure. India's federal structure is dictated more by political and economic structural issues rather than geographical contingency. Comment. India's federal structure. Okay, guys, now concentrate. India's federal structure, okay, is dictated more by political and economic structural issues rather than, okay, by geographical contingency. Or if I simplify this, rather than by geographical reality. Comment. 10 करोड़ का क्वेश्चन है ये. What does this question mean? पहले आप क्वेश्चन समझो आप. Now see, okay. Now listen. So what I'm saying is India's federal structure. So a federal structure हम क्या बोलेंगे? This will include the center-state relation. It'll also include the separation. Okay, the jurisdiction of center and states in the division of power. It also implies, okay, the center state dynamics in addressing concerns and pursuing development. So what do I mean by federal structure? The federal structure basically means something around the center-state relationship. Okay, the jurisdiction of the center and the states. कि the state list है, एक center list है, and very importantly, the dynamism in the center-state relationship that decides how to deal with the concerns and how to plan and how to pursue development. How to pursue development. Okay, this is what I mean by the federal setup or the federal structure. Now see, this federal structure or the federal setup, there are two things to this. It can be decided by geography, or it can be decided by other factors. Other factors, which includes maybe the political relationships, the economic reality. Okay, it could mean something related to maybe historical factors. So what decides in India? The question, what I'm asking you is, if I rephrase it, what decides India's federal structure? Okay, is it decided by geography? Is it decided by other factors? Dobara question padho aap. What am I asking? India's federal structure is dictated more by political, economic, structural issues rather than by geographical reality. Okay, so on two sides, ek taraf hai, we have the geographical reality. On the other side, we have got other reality. My question is, which of these two is important in our federal structure? In our federal structure. And the question says that if I look at the scenario, the federal structure is more governed by other factors and not by geography. Okay, and I'm asking you, comment. I'm asking you to comment on this. So now, when I say comment, what does the word comment mean? What does the word comment mean? The word comment means, tell me your opinion, not balance both. हाँ, मन की बात बताइए, your opinion. And your opinion में, you can choose to agree with this, you can choose to disagree with this, or you can remain somewhere in between, a bit towards agree, or your choice be bit towards disagree. That's your choice. Comment means give your opinion. So I think the wisdom is, don't say yes, completely true. Don't say no, completely wrong. Okay, it's always nice to have a bit of both. But if I ask you, what do you think? What do you think? Is Indian federal system more in terms of the geography or more in terms of other factors? What do you think? Is it more around geography or is it more around other factors? More around other factors or more around geography? So I think most of you agree that it is more around other factors. Okay, so if somebody wants to have some numbers here, so maybe 20% is geographical factors, 80% is non-geographical. Some of you can say, no, so this is as much as 10 to 15%, and this is much more, maybe around 90 to 85%. So I think, okay, most of you agree on this aspect, that the Indian federal structure is more on the other factors than geographical factors. So you have to have some idea. Now you tell me, when you say decided by geography, what are the factors am I talking about? Basically, the question is now, what factors, if they were actually controlling, okay, then what would they be? What would I say to say that it has been controlled by geographical factors? Yes? Yeah, it could be in terms of physiography. Then I would have said it is geographical factor. If it was in terms of local climate, I would have said it is geographical factor. If it was on the basis of local ethnicity, I would have said geographical factors. It was on the basis of cultural elements like language. I can say this is a geographical factor. If it was on the basis of local resources, then I would say geographical factors. If it was based on certain unique conditions, then I would have said it is geographical factor. All agree with this? If the states are demarcated on the basis of physiography, if on the basis of, say, local climate, on the basis of local ethnicity, local cultural elements like languages, on the basis of maybe some local resource, maybe on the basis of some local unique conditions, tab hum bolenge geography pe bana. My question is, do we have examples of this or not? Do we have examples of, can you give me a state which has been carved out on the basis of physiography? Any state which has been carved out on the basis of physiography? I think you'll agree on Jharkhand, Chotanagpur Plateau, Chhattisgarh, Chotanagpur Plateau, right? This is based on the physiographic aspects. Even Kerala coast, okay, this is the physiographic element. Telangana also has a physiographic element. Okay, the hill states are based on physiographic elements. Okay, can you give me example of local climate deciding, okay, the state? Example of climate deciding the state. I think Rajasthan is a good example. Semi-arid, dry deserts, to some extent, even parts of Gujarat. I can say it's around climate. Local ethnicity. Okay. Yes, Assam also is based on physiography. It is the Brahmaputra plains in the northeast. The Assam may be physiographic element dikhta hai. Local ethnicity, all the tribal areas. You talk about Mizoram, Mizos, Nagaland, Nagas. Okay. We talk about the areas of Arunachal Pradesh, ethnicity hai. Okay. Ladakh is again ethnicity. Okay. For that matter, the states of Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand may be ethnicity important hai. Okay, so that's ethnicity. Languages. Now this is a very strong point. India does have a linguistic basis, no? Linguistic basis. Yes, Telugu, Malayalam, Tamil, Gujarati. Okay, you have got the Bengali speaking population. Ye sara is definitely cultural elements. Local resource based. Okay, we talk about in terms of the forests, we talk in terms of the minerals. Okay, the hill areas are local resource based. The hill areas, the Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, also local resource based. And unique conditions. It could be historical factors, like think of Pondicherry. Okay, unique conditions, historical factors. Think of Punjab. Okay, some unique religion, language. Think of Goa. Think of Daman Div. So we do have examples where the local factors have been reflected in the states. Okay? Is it okay now? So agar itne sare states hain hamare paas, you can also talk about physiography mein aapka Lakshadweep aa jayega, Andaman Nicobar, absolutely. So we have good reasons to believe that yes, the geographical factors have played an important role. You can't ignore it. So start the answer on those lines. Yes, in India, we have got different reasons why we have geographical basis of federalism. So you can have a table and show this. That these examples tell us that the states have been carved out on the basis of physiographic factors. They have been carved out on the basis of local conditions, ethnicity, and language. Okay, so the geographical factors have been responsible for the unique identity of the federal units, identity of many federal units, of India. Take all of you. This is one assertion. Okay? So there are reasons to believe that local geographical factors, local conditions, local ethnicity, local climate have been responsible for many of the federal units of India. Okay? Acha. Now tell me, okay, where all have non-geographical factors played a role? Where all have non-geographical factors played a role? Ab suno. Now see, the question was on the federal structure. So our point here is that even if, listen, even if the federal units, many of the federal units have been demarcated on the basis of local geographical factors, but the actual center-state relationship, the actual federal working and decision making have not been as aligned to the federal constitution of the state. तो आपने कहा कि you have made units. This is unit based on geography, unit based on geography, unit based on geography, based on geography. That's ठीक है, कर दिया आपने. But look at the actual functioning, actual working, the actual relationships. If you look at how they have operated in the decision-making process, here we will say that it has not been always aligned to the federal making of the state. Okay? And this we can see in our development, okay, agenda. We can see in the critical reforms of India. Okay, this we can see in terms of, okay, say infrastructure development. Okay, we can see this in lot of decision making. Okay, where what has been more important is certain economic factors are more important. Security concerns have been more important. The political relationships have been more important. And even historical factors have been more important. Is it okay? Ab samajh mein aaya? Okay. How is the... Yes, absolutely. If you look at the financial, autonomy, if you look at the financial autonomy, okay, if you look at some of the reforms that we have had, look at our development that we have been making, if you look at our agenda that we follow, okay, many of our decisions are actually based on economic factors, based on security concerns, based on political relationships between center and the states, and even the history of the country. Samajh mein aa raha hai? Are you all able to understand the question and how am I developing it? So there are elements that tell us, yes, the federal structure is based on geography, but maybe not the actual working, maybe not the actual functioning. So we have got some discrepancies here. Okay, look at the example. I'm moving on. Okay, I'm moving on this. Okay, so if you look at, so our India's federal structure has been heavily influenced by 1935 Act. Okay, it has been influenced by 1935 Act and linguistic diversity. diversity and local history and ethnicity played a role. Ethnicity played a role. Okay, but since the 1990-91 reforms, okay, with more liberalization and globalization, the federal character has constantly changed. It has constantly changed. बार बार changes हुआ है. In the coalition governments, the federal character was more obvious. So when I say this is an example of a political system, as long as the political reality was coalition governments, as long as we had the regional parties, when we had the regional parties who were more decisive in the central policies, then the federal character was more obvious. Okay, but the moment we have the emergence of strong national parties, but the emergence of a strong national, or you can say pan-Indian parties, whether you say Congress-led governments or you say the BJP-led governments, okay, the federal and the local regional basis of center-state relationship has changed. Okay, so our federal relationships has been more around what type of governments have been in place. Ab wapas question ko jao. What does the question say? Okay, the question says that our federal setup is more dependent on the political aspect. Hum wahi samjha rahe hain. Okay, so when the political system has coalition governments, the federal character is more obvious. But the moment we have strong national parties coming into play, whether you talk about Congress governments or you talk about BJP governments, then you can see the federal relationship of center and states now starts changing. And in recent times, we can see this where, okay, in recent times, so look at what has happened under the GST reforms. What has happened under your agricultural reforms. Okay, you can talk about pandemic management. Okay, we can refer to the infrastructure development, whether I talk about roads, okay, you talk about the ports, you talk about industrial investments. It is no longer decided by the local governments. Okay, you talk about recent times mein security reasons mein, think about what we have done with the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Historical and security reasons. So now we have Jammu and Kashmir plus we have Ladakh. So if you look at the trends now these are these GST agriculture reforms. Agriculture used to be part of the state list. Okay, health has been part of the state list. You talk about local roads. Okay, these also have been part of the state list and the concurrent list. Okay, local taxation, the local taxes and the state taxes have almost been abolished. Is it okay? इसमें ज्यादा विस्तार नहीं करना है. द होल आइडिया एग्रीकल्चर रिफॉर्म्स में क्या हो रहा है? द कंसेप्ट ऑफ सिंगल एग्रीकल्चरल मार्केट, ओके, वन नेशन, one agricultural policy. So our question was that the federal structure is not always in terms of local geography. It is about the economic necessities, the structural changes, and also the political contingencies. ठीक है? Okay. अब समझ में आया? और लिखना कितना है? This is a question of 10 marks. ये 10 marks का question है. Don't go beyond 2 pages, maximum 2 pages. So you have started with saying, yes, there are geographical, okay, say relationship of the states with the local conditions. But I'm saying, if you look at the functioning in recent times, there has been changes. Why? Because more than the geography, the political aspects, the economic aspects, and historical aspects have changed our center-state relationships. Okay, so there is a tilt. So our conclusion here is that in present times, okay, in the present times, there is a tilt towards more a unitary government or more unitary systems. There has been a tilt towards more unitary systems. Now see how I will change the conversation here. Systems. But my question is, now listen, my question is, does unitary system mean that we are ignoring geography? Does unitary system means that we are necessarily ignoring geography? No. So that is where we change again. We say, okay, however, in the relatively more unitary system evolving, geography continues to be an important factor. Now, can you tell me how? Even if that we are shifting towards unitary form, but my point is the geography continues to be an important factor. Kaise? Yes, very nice. So if you look at our disaster management policies, okay, they are guided and funded by the center, but local conditions do matter. They're guided. We have got a central policy. They're guided. They're funded. We have a National Disaster Management Act. Okay, but local conditions do matter in relief. They do matter, okay, in evacuation. They do matter in execution. So even if there is some element of unitary government, but the local conditions do matter. We have a region-specific developmental programs. So we have got special programs for the Northeast. We have special programs for the tribal regions. We do have island development strategies. This means the local geography still matters. So when you say, even if we are trying to unify agricultural trade, but cropping patterns and crop choices continue to be promoted. promoted under the agroclimatic conditions. Is it okay? So even if you're trying to unify the agricultural market, you're trying to unify agricultural trade, you're trying to develop NAM, that's okay. But the crop choices hai, that is still promoted under agroclimatic conditions. Is that fine? Okay. We do have special development initiatives, okay, for local regions. You talk about drought management. You talk about desert management. You can talk about border area development. These are special development initiatives, and this represents the local geographies. So we started off by saying, yes, number one, the federal units, they have some link with the geography. Then we said that how the center state operates, that's not always in terms of local geography. I've come back to say that even if there are tendencies of unitary government, the tendencies of more national and unitary based policies, but we do see examples of local geographical priorities also. Yes, absolutely. We do see the emergence of local geographical based, okay, developmental initiatives also. So regional programs hai, special development initiatives hai, agricultural trade unification, but the crops continue to be, okay, based on local conditions. Disaster management policies are also governed by local conditions. Hence, what do we conclude here? Our conclusion is that a federal system is an ever-evolving system. It is an ever-evolving system for India. It is not fixed. It is malleable. It is malleable. Okay. By nature, we have said that India, Bharat is the union of destructible states. Go on. Uske baad, you are going to take up whatever you want as a part of your discussions. But aapko question samajh mein aa gaya ab? This is the challenge that you had. The federal system is not only local geography, but even the political aspects, and you can see a lot of swings between what decides when. Ab question appreciate hua? Uske saath mein answer bhi appreciate hua, I hope so at least. Take? Okay, let's move on. So that's one question done. The next question, ab isko dhyan se suno aap. Now we are getting into the gear now. Next question is, why is federalism considered the most geographically expressive, considered the most geographically expressive of all forms of government? Explain. Why is, again, this is a 10-mark question. It could also be a 15-mark question. Why is federalism considered the most geographically expressive of all forms of government? Say if I list down, okay, say, what do we mean by geographically expressive? हम कब बोलेंगे that something is geographically expressive? When do we say that? When anything, okay, something that represents local physiography, something that represents local climate, something that represents local ethnicity, something that is based on local autonomy, okay, something that involves local decision making. Okay, so these are some things you all know. Okay, you all know this. If the boundaries of the units reflect the local barriers and limits. Is it okay? I mean, this is what I'm asking you. Okay, why are we saying that federalism is considered to be the most geographically expressive? Okay, so what does this mean? What does this idea mean? There's something that represents geography, something that reflects the local geography, something that represents the local conditions. Okay, so when I say locally expressive, it must represent local physiography, local climate, local ethnicity, based on local autonomy, based on decentralization, okay, local decision making, and the boundaries are based on local barriers and local limits. Okay, so when I am saying this, okay, geographical approach has to be based on regional differences, is what I'm saying. When a geographical approach, when something is geographical, the geographical approach kab bolenge? When something is based on regional differences, when something is based on regional uniqueness. Yes? Can we bring in some ideas of Hartshorne and chorology here? If the geographical units or if the federal units represent, okay, spatial differences, if the federal units represent chorological differences, ये terms looks like ये geography का बंदा ही लिख सकता है. What I'm saying is, okay, ये जो regional difference है और regional uniqueness है, what does this mean? This basically means, okay, that the federal units or the political units must represent local, spatial or areal differentiation. The units must represent the local chorological uniqueness. Then we will say that the system is most geographically expressive. Yes, correct? Some of the units, very right. Some of the units can also represent, they can represent the natural regions. Okay, what I mean by this? The local soil, the local forest, the local physiography, plus even the local population and races. Can you give an example of where, okay, the federal units look like they are integrated? They are integrated natural units. कहाँ है बताओ? The northeastern states. For that matter, in the hill states. Uttarakhand और हिमाचल प्रदेश को भी उठा लो आप. So they represent. Rajasthan is a good example. We have Gujarat also as a good example. But I think better hoga hill states and northeastern states where you have got lot of lot of natural elements still present. Okay, and this can also be seen in the micro regions at the level of the districts. वहां पर भी देख सकते हो lot of natural region based demarcations. Yes, Jharkhand, in fact, Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand also. Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand also. Examples में होगा. Did you understand the question? Answer तो लिखेंगे जब लिखेंगे आप लोग. Why is federalism considered the most geographically expressive of all forms of government? Why? Because federalism is based on units that's based on local conditions, local history, local physiography, local ethnicity. Okay, ये जो localization of elements हैं, it is best in the federal units. You see, when I say federalism, listen, when I say federalism, there are 3-4 things. One is the units. It also means the governance. It also means the decision-making power. Okay, say if I have a country, and I divide into units, but the local units have no power, the local units have no decision-making capability. Even if the units are based on local conditions, does not mean it is actually federal. ऐसा कोई country है that does not have subdivision of its large territory. Do we have countries where there are no subdivisions? Do we have countries of that kind? No. Japan has prefectures. Japan has islands. Okay? So every country में there is some subdivision or the other. Yes, Singapore also has subdivisions. उनके local municipal blocks हैं. Okay, but the point is, it is not about the subdivisions alone. It's also about the governance. It's also about the decision making. So when I say federalism, that's why I listed down all of this. That's why I said, okay, it should represent local physiography, local climate, local ethnicity, local autonomy, local decision making. ये भी important है. Don't miss this part of federalism. It is not simply about the divisions based on local conditions. Then we say the federalism is actually best expressive of geography, right? So in federal systems where there are smaller political and administrative units, the divisions mostly do reflect some local uniqueness and are based on local differences, and hence geographical basis plays an important role in the geographical differences. This is one reason why we say that the federal systems represents geography best. ये एक reason हुआ. The federal systems, the smaller political units, the administrative units, they do reflect local unique conditions. They do represent local differences, and these are based on the geographical differences. यहाँ पर give examples. Local climate based, local physiography based, okay, local drainage based, go on there. Then you can say the federal units also represent ethnic elements. They also represent local cultural elements. उसका एग्जाम्पल दे दो. ओके, सो अगर फेडरल है तो एथनिक डिफरेंस बेस्ड भी है. अगर फेडरल है तो लोकल ज्योग्राफिकल फिजिकल डिफरेंस बेस्ड भी है. गिव एग्जांपल्स. थर्ड, सो federal units represent some element of local decision making and empowerment of local ethnic geographical groups. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. That when you have the federal units, the smaller groups now represent the ethnic groups. So what this does is there is more autonomy in decision making. There is more autonomy in planning. Why? Because the local ethnic groups are part of the decision making. Fourth point, federal units also are demarcated on the basis of boundaries that represent change in geographical conditions. The change in geographical conditions. यहां पर ले आना the concept of, so federal units themselves are type of formal regions. ये term याद आ रहा है आपको? The federal units are type of formal regions. They're type of uniform regions. So if I have okay, Jammu Kashmir here, then Punjab is different compared to Jammu Kashmir. Then we have Rajasthan here. Rajasthan is different. So the boundaries hain, these boundaries represent the division of the natural formal regions, uniform regions. So boundaries also represent the geographical limits. Give examples. Uttarakhand hills ho gaya, UP plains ho gaya. You can see this in the upper Ganga, lower Ganga, and middle Ganga also. You can see this. You can see this in Assam versus the rest of the hill regions of the Northeast. Yes, Assam and the rest of Northeast, absolutely. Give examples here. So I think if you understand this much, you have got the answer right. Dobara question dekho. Go back to the question. Why is federalism considered the geographically most expressive of all forms of government? Yes, linguistic bhi de lo. The moment I say ethnic cultural also includes, okay, where to write ethnic wala point? I wrote the cultural, yeah, cultural elements. They also represent the ethnic elements, cultural elements. तो यहां पर आपका linguistic भी आ जाएगा. Okay, I'm moving on now. The next question. Please keep making your notes, okay? While physical and physiographic boundaries may be convenient, but the idea that they are natural barriers and hence more stable is a myth. Elaborate and illustrate with examples. Likho question. While physical and physiographic boundaries may be convenient, but the idea that they are natural barriers and hence more stable is a myth. Elaborate and illustrate with examples. यहां पर दो चैलेंज है. एक तो इसको आपको समझाना है क्या कहना चाह रहा है, and then give examples from across the world. Don't give Indian examples alone. Okay? While physical and physiographic boundaries may be convenient, yes, Sarat, again right, but the idea that they are natural barriers and hence more stable is a myth. Okay? ये पेपर 2 में पूछे, पेपर 1 में पूछे, आपको एग्जाम्पल्स दोनों तरफ देना पड़ेगा. This can be a question in paper 1, it can also be a question in paper 2, and give examples from across the world and also India. So let's take a one by one. So we're talking about physical boundaries or boundaries based on physical features. So boundaries based on physical features. Number one is mountains. Advantage and what are the problems? Are mountains stable? Are mountains stable? Yes or no? Yes, they are stable. Okay, you can't move mountains. Are mountains, okay, identifiable? Yes or no? Yes. So there is no ambiguity in identifying mountains. But our problem is that mountains are not absolute barriers. ये myth है. Okay. Can you give examples of mountains are not absolute barriers? बताओ. There are passes. The crest line is not always distinct. Mountain crest. Mountains don't always act as water divide, and mountains don't always differentiate ethnicities. Can we say this? Okay, now erosion तो बहुत बाद में आएगा. Absolutely. And technology has allowed to cross mountains easily. So mountains as barriers is the myth because there are passes people can cross across. The crest line is difficult to demarcate. This has happened for Himalayas. This has also happened for Andes. Andes separating Chile from Argentina. Chile from Argentina. आसान नहीं है. They don't always act as water divide, correct? Look at your antecedent drainage. They don't separate the rivers. So barriers nahi hai. They don't differentiate ethnicities. The same ethnicity. Okay. So we can have racial commonalities. We can also have a linguistic commonalities. Tibet is a good example. They don't always separate. Yes, Myanmar may be example hai, correct? We also have examples in Myanmar. So now see, most of you would not know to write down this list. आप बस एक sentence में लेके आ जाते. So there are racial commonalities. We have got mountains here. The races who live here are also present here. They move across mountains. They move across mountains. The problem in this question is, आपको समझ में तो आ रहा है, but the elaboration required may not be correct. And technology, okay, and the consequence of which is there have been conflicts. I think Indo India-China conflicts. This is the best example of how mountains are not the best barriers. In fact, racial similarities are also in Arunachal Pradesh. That's why McMahon line is disputed. McMahon line is challenged by China. They call Arunachal Pradesh Little Tibet. They call Arunachal Pradesh the Little Tibet. Ho jayega? So this is one. So this is around mountains as boundaries, and what do we mean by they are not reliable? They are not actually barriers. The second one. Talk about the rivers. अब आप बताओ, are rivers distinct or not? Are rivers distinct or not? Yes or no? Yes, they are distinct. You've got no problem in knowing. In fact, rivers are fairly straight and linear. Compared to mountains, can I say rivers are relatively more straight and linear? Yes or no? Yes, they are. Okay. Now, as barriers, they are no longer. Pehle kabhi they may have been barriers. Okay, they may have been if they are very, very large rivers. But in today's circumstances, they are no longer barriers. In fact, the drainage basin is an integrated unit. अगर river यहाँ चल रहा है, more than the river separating this from this area, actually we have integration of this with this. You all agree? Rivers are not barriers. Rivers are actually integrating units. Okay. They tend to bring people together. The people who live here and the people who live here, they are fairly similar. Okay, नदिया के उस पार और नदिया के इस पार, okay, ससुराल होते हैं. तो इधर खेती करके उधर आपका मंडी है, इधर आपका बचपन है, इधर आपका ससुराल है. ये तो इंटीग्रेटिंग हुआ. ठीक है, यहां हमारा गांव है, यहां हमारी कर्म है. ठीक है. अभिलाष सेज टीनेज रोमांस अक्रॉस द रिवर्स, है ना. यहां बैठ के पत्थर मार रहे थे, उधर से पत्थर मार रहे थे, एंड लो बी होल्ड, ओके, अब दोनों मिलके दूसरों को पत्थर मारो. So drainage basins and rivers are actually integrating units. They integrate, they combine. Acha. Then as navigation systems, they again unite. Okay. Uske अलावा other problems related to shifting river courses, problems related to change in hydrology, a change in quantum of water, and these can create conflicts. So again, they are not absolute barriers. Example iska, okay, Rio Grande. This has been the basis of conflicts. Rio Grande. We have had conflicts because of River Amur. Okay. There are conflicts because of River Zambezi. Zambezi does form. Okay. There are conflicts because of River Mekong. So fertile plains hai. Or India में, you have conflicts between India, Bangladesh, India, Nepal. Okay? So rivers are also not reliable. और क्या बचा हमारा physical units? What all physical units are you left with? We talk about forests, we can talk about marshes, we can talk about deserts. Now, unlike rivers, forest, marshes, and deserts, these have been frontiers because ये broad zones हैं. Okay, the problem we have for rivers, you can also apply the same for the lakes. यहाँ पर rivers and lakes को एक साथ लिख देना. Come to this one. The third categories of physical boundaries are forests, marshes, and deserts. Now, these are frontier zones. These are frontier zones. And with communication, with changing climates, with discovery of resources, with increasing territoriality, that we want to assert our territory more and more. Okay, with communication, with changing climate, okay, with discovery of new resources, with increasing territoriality, okay, these have become the reasons for conflicts. They have become the reasons for conflicts. So frontiers may have been relevant earlier, but not anymore. Increasing territoriality. Yes, the frontiers convert into forward marches, and the forward marches now become boundaries. Means that you are asserting your territory. More and more you declare, this is my area, that is your area. This is my territory, this is your territory. With increasing territoriality means the increasing assertiveness of your land ownership. Absolutely. Increasing population also. Yes. Increasing resources, increasing population. Okay. So frontiers are no longer the basis of, okay, stable barriers. Absolutely. And fourth up add kar dena, the territorial waters. These also are questionable until we had the UNCLOS. Yes, you can add swamps here also, marshes and swamps. Example dena, desert example is Sahara. Forest example, Ardennes, France, Germany area. Marshes mein, you can talk about Pripyat marshes between Poland and Russia, Pripyat marshes. We have our Kutch, run of Kutch. And these are areas of disputes. Sir Creek, yes. Panatal, absolutely. Paraguay ka boundary hai. Panatal wetlands. Yes. Yes, yes. Ardennes forest, part of that region, correct. Okay? See what the problem with this question was, when you see the question, okay, the question does not look to be difficult. Okay, आप देख के हाँ यार हो जाएगा. But जब लिखने बैठोगे, you will have a challenge. You will not know how to break up the answer. And that's what I helped you do. पहले mountains के बारे में लिखो, that they are no longer absolute barriers. Then take up the rivers, they are not barriers. Give examples. Take up forest, marshes, they also are not barriers. How will the conclusion be? The conclusion is the most stable ones are the anthropogenic boundaries that are carved because of treaties. Okay, the boundaries that are based on treaty, that are based on certain historical agreements, or the antecedent ones. These are the most stable ones. ठीक है? So these are relatively more stable than the physical ones. That's your conclusion. Okay. Another question. How does the emergence of Indian Ocean rim geopolitics counter or mirror Mackinder-Spikeman's idea about geopolitical equations? How does the emergence of Indian Ocean geopolitics counter or mirror Mackinder-Spikeman's idea about geopolitical equations? Like, you'll have to have some conversation here. So listen. So if I draw a table, आप आंसर अपने आप लिखोगे. I'm giving you a table for your understanding. Say we have Mackinder, Heartland theory, Spikeman, Rimland theory, and the present day Indian Ocean rim, the conflicts, okay, and the geopolitics here. I'm giving a comparison to you. ठीक है? से मैकिंडर का what was his assertion क्या था? The assertion is land is more powerful. What does Spikeman say? The coastal rimland more powerful. This is the inner crescent. What does IOR conflict tell you? What does IOR conflict tell you? This tells you that a region of land and water is more powerful. IOR is not just the waters. It is the water along with. Okay, so this is Indian Ocean plus Southeast Asia plus South Asia plus the Central Asia. ये region important है. The basis of this was what? For Mackinder, the basis was the agricultural steppes and the flatness of the land and the relative isolation. This was the power of the land. It had agricultural steppes, it has the flatness of the land, and it was relatively isolated and protected. The basis of rimland was the access to the sea and the sea-based integration. Agricultural resource, flatness of land, relative protected area. This is because of the access to sea and the sea-based integration. Iska basis kya hai? What's the basis of the IOR's assertiveness? It is trade, energy resource. It is the population. So this is a military basis. This also is a military political basis. This is a socio-economic political advantage. That is why yahan par China talks about the maritime Silk Route. China talks about the Belt Road Initiative. India talks about Sagarmala. India talks about International North-South Trade Corridor. Yes, it is. IOR में आपका link to Central Asia भी important है. That is why you have got the CPEC corridor. China talks about CPEC corridor. क्या है? China, Pakistan into Indian Ocean. Okay, so that is the link to Central Asia. Afghanistan plays a very important role. Military बाद में आएगा because it is economically more important, because it has population demography. Therefore, you add military. I'm not saying important नहीं है. Okay, it's the economics, it is the trade which is more important here. It's the energy which is more important here. Something that these guys have not talked about. For that matter, the rise of Middle East was after 1960s and 70s. When was this theory given? When was Spikeman theory given? When was Spikeman theory given? 1940s mein, correct. When was Mackinder's theory given? 1904, 1919, 1943. This was much before the rise of the Arab powers. अब आप बात कर रहे हो Gulf, talking about the Middle East, oil, energy, Persian Gulf. ये कहानी बाद में बना. The oil boom later. Exactly. So this talks about trade. It talks about energy. Yeah? Okay, now, Mackinder's theory का you can say जो rivalry है, rivalry is essentially Britain Germany का rivalry है. It is the story of Britain and Germany's rivalry, and this ultimately becomes Britain US versus Germany and Japan. और Germany याद रखो, Japan तो बाद में आएगा. ठीक है, fine, Japan लिख सकते हैं. But when Spikeman comes in, what's the story here? Spikeman theory क्या है? Spikeman is more around the US and USSR or Russia. It is NATO versus USSR. It is NATO versus communist USSR. What's the story here? Yes, this is US and maybe India versus China, maybe Russia and Pakistan. ठीक है? This is relatively, ये जो है relatively, this is conflict of two powers. But this is more multilateral. This is more multilateral. यहां पर तो अब क्वाड भी आ गया. Quad also on this side. Pakistan है ना? China, Pakistan. Who says no? In fact, in Mackinder's theory, what Poland meant to Germany in IOR, Pakistan means to China. And to some extent, India means to US. Yes? यहां पर multilateral, absolutely. Iran is a stakeholder here. Absolutely. The Southeast Asian nations are stakeholders. Africa also is a stakeholder here. In case of Mackinder, in case of Mackinder's theory, what was the critical area? The critical area was the gap between Urals and Caspian Sea, the passage through Poland was critical. What was critical for Spikeman? Central Asia is critical for Spikeman and Afghanistan. What about this? What about Indian Ocean? What's critical? The critical are Central Asia and the Straits, Malacca and the Hormuz. ये critical है. Anybody who controls this. Namrata, if Russia can annex Afghanistan, then through India, it has access to Indian Ocean. Okay? And that's why it fought this Afghan war, and which ultimately has become, okay, your Taliban and the rest. So Russia has always tried to break out of its cage. In this, what is critical is Central Asia continues to be critical because yahan par resource base hai. But what's more important is also the straits. The straits are more important. The Malacca Strait and the Hormuz. Hormuz, yes. And this is what ultimately becomes, you combine all of this, ye hai China ka maritime Silk Route plus the BRI concept. And they are trying to develop what's called as the Kra Canal. Mackinder and Spikeman, yahan par in both the military strategy is the sole basis of superiority and dominance. But in case of this, trade is important. Your labor is important. We're talking about, okay, sea lanes of communication. Ye important hai. The soft power is more critical than what it was here. And in these two models, okay, the importance of India and the role of China was not as explicitly discussed. Take it towards India now. Whereas this is more explicitly detailed around India and China. This is more explicitly detailed around India and China. Yes, it did. But it is not a part of the main theory, Namrata. आपको पता भी नहीं होगा इंडिया के बारे में बताया था उन्होंने 43 में when he wrote about okay, winning of peace. Okay, but in this case, in the IOR model में India, China पूरा एक focus area है. They are the focus area. So what do you think? Do the theories, does the IOR conditions mirror Mackinder and Spikeman? Yes or no? Did they mirror Mackinder and Spikeman? Yes or no? The answer is yes. but in a different way. That's why some people call the Indian Ocean as, okay, Indian Ocean rim region is called as the neo pivot area. It's called as the neo pivot area. So there are good similarities, but with a strong modification. Yes, in some areas, it does counter also, but the counterpart is a bit less. The concept of conflict काफी दिखता है. Okay, there are a lot of similarities between them. But then do right. How we measure those or how we compare that, the basis does vary. लिख लिया आप लोगों ने, I believe. So like a table, and I think this can be asked in different ways. Okay, this can be asked different ways. Make sure you have the examples with you. Conclusion वही तो है, लिखा बताया ना, conclusion. That the nature of geopolitics has changed. The basis of conflicts have changed. But essentially, this continues to be a geopolitical theory with elements beyond pure military. It now talks about the rise of soft power, trade, and economy also. So summary can become your conclusion. Namrata, पूरा आंसर को बॉक्स में ना लिखना. The box is for your notes, ताकि आपको points पता होना चाहिए. But don't write the whole answer as a box. So if the same question I rephrase as discuss Indian Ocean rim region as the neo pivot area of recent geopolitics. This can be another question. Discuss the rise of Indian Ocean rim region as the new pivot area of recent geopolitics. इसका एक और फॉर्म है, can we consider Indian Ocean rim region as the bulwark of 21st century geopolitics? They are not same answers, remember. ये same answers नहीं है, but lot of commonality between the discussions. This could be a 15-mark question. This could be a 15-mark question. This one could be a bit bigger one. This you can consider as a 20-mark question. This could be a 20-mark question. Okay, and these two could be 15-mark questions. Did you learn something? And that's why I always said, no, political geography जो है, it's going to be very contemporary. It will be based on a lot of current affairs. These are topics I cannot teach earlier. Why? Because it requires the latest developments. Okay, you'll have to apply the concepts here rather than simply knowing some facts. Okay then. ठीक है? I'm giving you one more question. Maybe you can practice on your own and then we continue. How can India leverage? How can India leverage its geographical advantage to advance its interests and its position in the emerging global order. This is a 20-mark question. How can India leverage its geographical advantage to advance its interests and its position in the emerging global order? Then all of you, bye-bye. Take care. Okay. Bye. All the best. And do study, okay? We'll have a lot of fun doing these topics. Bye-bye. Bye.